Okay, welcome back to What If History Restarted. This is episode 56. Last time, I don't remember what happened. But so, yeah, we're just gonna get into things. And I think we're gonna go over here to Africa, mainly in this country, which is starting to do some trade with the other African countries that are not colonies, which does include this one. However, this one is also just kind of a bum, if you remember, and no one really likes them, especially not these guys, and especially after they have some border conflicts. They are the same religion for the most part, but like the core government of this country is the red religion, so obviously they maybe don't treat the yellow religion people as well, and you know, there's some scuffling going on there. And yeah, eventually the purple-ish team down here is going to get pretty mad at the blue team up here, kind of Sudan, I guess, for doing that. And so they're going to go to war with them. Neither of these countries are particularly strong, but the purple team is definitely a little bit stronger. They do take this major city right off the bat. And pretty quickly there's a lot of rebellions of yellow religion people. Like so. So with that, the purple team does a much better job as the entire military of this country kind of crumbles, and they now start pushing up through the Nile, well, around the Nile, taking the capital. However, they now go a little bit overboard and get hypocritical, because now they start doing the exact same things to the red religion people. So a lot of these rebels are going to be unhappy with that. So we see like rebels within the rebels who don't want to be, because originally these were separatist movements that wanted to join the purple team, but now these guys, they do not want to do that, because they do not want to be associated with it. So we see this one over here, and do like, yeah, sure, why not? This one over here looks like, yes, pretty similar. So eventually, the blue team is definitely dead here. They have technically 3 rebellions and an invasion, because, this is rebellion and invasion combined. And eventually we see a 4th one's going to pop up, because a lot of these people also want a new government over that, even in the red religion areas. And so we see this green one pop up, and these guys start to rise pretty quickly. They do take over some land back from the purple guys, but not the capital region. Eventually, this moves up over here. This moves up around here. And eventually, the blue team collapses. From there, a peace deal is going to be worked out. Let's just take these 2 guys as colors. Okay, now let's plop them in the ocean and try our best to recreate that other one. Sure. Alright, so for the regions that do want to join the purple team down here, it's mostly going to be like close to the border. It kind of splits along this lake, and like so. Next up for the pink rebellion, I don't know what this pixel is, but the pink rebellion is going to be pretty big, and over here, yes. So it does definitely go pretty heavily into the red religion area, so it's not where they're going to be putting their capital. They're going to be making a new one, and that's alliances. They're going to be making a new capital for themselves down here. But they treat the red religion people fairly too. Then we got this one. It's going to be mostly like over here. Oh, maybe not like that. But yeah, they're going to look something like this. And I don't really like that color, because it just looks like Oman is invading. So I think that works fine. Finally, just this one, so we can get rid of these things now. These guys are essentially just going to become the new government, but it is a new country. So, blue Sudan is dead. And yeah, there we go. So now this area is looking a lot differenter, and we're going to be continuing to focus in on Africa, because down here, little old, these guys, Cambodia, they have their big old colony down the south here that they got from Korea. Thing is though, as you can see, first of all, there's three major, I guess four. Yeah, there's four major branches here, because there's 2 yellows and 2 purples. And none of them really want to be under Cambodia's control. And yeah. Because, and part of that region is because, if you look at the world map, the countries that have colonies are, the most powerful countries, like Tuscany and Gibraltar, and obviously Catalonia used to be, so they had a bunch of colonies. Korea used to be, so they had a bunch of colonies. And Cambodia is definitely a strong country, but, it's more so economically than it is militarily, and even just in terms of influence. So yeah, they really just aren't as powerful. So it's a lot harder for them to take or keep control over this large of an area. And so we're going to see that that's going to lead to some issues, especially, well, not really especially anywhere, it's just kind of all over. So eventually, okay, I guess there is an especially involved here, because over here in these areas, this religion's people is the most rowdy, and they definitely want independence the most. And so Cambodia's just going to agree to give it to them. And we see a new country be made right around here. Takes that. Well, actually, they probably wouldn't take that city, but yeah, these guys take all of this. And I don't really. That's just a blob on the map. We gotta make it a little bit more interesting than that. Ooh, maybe not that interesting. Yeah, no, I'm not liking that. Bam. Okay, I guess. But yeah, see this country get released over here, and pretty quickly that's going to create a wave of nationalism across the entire colony, and we're going to see some forces start to rebel for their independence, mainly down in South Africa. And now South Africa is mostly the light yellow religion, and those are the people that are rebelling, so we're going to use their color. And there we go. Turn off. So these guys rise up in the more rural areas, but soon enough they take this vital city. We see another major pocket starts up over here. These guys fill in all of this, and eventually this entire middle area is taken, as all of South Africa falls over to these guys, or the country South Africa. You also see another rebellion that's more close to the Lake Country, because they may or may not be supporting it. Who knows? I know, and the answer is yes. So now you know as well. But yeah, this one's very large, and as you can see, yeah, things aren't going too good for Cambodia over here. As morale is very low. Most people are just saying that the government should just give them independence. The government's kind of hesitant too, because there's some more, productive areas. But eventually they make an agreement, and they say that if Cambodia gets to keep this vital city, then they'll just let the guys have independence, and the guys accept that. So if we could just fix up these borders, which are coasts, I guess, which are absolutely terrible right now. There's a lot of pixels. And then we can now look at the peace treaty. Well, obviously it's not this, but over here in South Africa, that's where we're going to go first. We're going to see a light blue country pop up over here on this side, and a more whitish, beigeish, maybe a little bit brighter than that even, country pop up over there. These guys have very nice borders that go perfectly with their religion, / ethnicity, group, or whatever you want to call it. Over here, this region is also going to become one country. I might just do that. But that looks stupid. I like that. And yes, so that's that. And that's for capitals. These guys over here on the Cape. These guys are gonna put theirs like up here. They're a little weird. And what is that blob? Just leftover pixels. And then these guys are gonna be in their only major city. So yeah, there we have it. There are the 3 new African countries over here. Cambodia's colony still exists, but it's just a lot smaller and weirder looking. But that's okay, I guess. We could stick with Africa. We could. I mean, all you really need to know is that there's definitely some nationalism, like, around here, and probably even just, like, up here, which is, you know, kind of seems weird because it's right next to their country's homelands. Plus, it also has, like, the exact same ethnicity for these guys and a very similar one for these guys, but they don't really want to be in the same country because these were different countries not too long ago, and these aren't even like, you know, indigenous tribes and kingdoms that were, you know, taken under control, but these are like fully fledged like countries that were just recognized like just as much as like these guys. So it'd be like if Tuscany, if we can grab the color, controlled like these countries. And obviously these guys were not like that. And maybe Tuscany just takes over all of Europe, who knows. Napoleon. Or I said I would be calling them France. But I just can't do it. They're just Tuscany to me. Which is funny because I think I started, like at the start of the series, I would always call them France on accident. And now I can't start calling them France. So that's funny, I guess. Over here in Europe, this country of all countries actually starts to like massively benefit from the alliance. I was about to say ethnicity alliance. That would not have been what I meant. But yeah, they benefit a lot from this economic alliance because they're just really good at trading, I guess. And it's to the point where they actually managed to build some new cities as well as upgrade one to, well, not even upgrade, just make a brand new vital city. And over there on the coast as well. So these guys have like some of the highest quality of life in the world, and they're pretty swell. Up here in the Nordic countries where nothing has happened for the past trillion years, you're going to see something finally happen, which is a union between these two countries. You know what, we're doing what we did with Egypt, Oman. 128. Boom, become the same color. Does that look good? I'm gonna go with it. They will not maintain 2 capitals. This one will be downgraded into just a vital city. Actually, it would probably be this one because it's just on the Baltic Sea. Meanwhile, this one's on the whole Atlantic. So, yeah. Logic. And up in this country where nothing has happened, once again, see, this country is actually, like, pretty diverse in terms of religion and ethnicity. The capital of it over here is actually in the pink Finnish part, which is definitely the most highly populated area, because, like, literally who lives up there? Up here, I mean. There is still definitely a minority group up here, which should definitely have a lot more of this group. I don't know why it's so limited, but, like, obviously these are, like, the more northern, like, inhabitants that are kind of weird. I think they might be Russian, maybe. They're like a weird blend of Russian and Finnish and dark blue culture, probably. But yeah, a lot of these people up here are pretty happy under the control of this country, because, I mean, without them, they would definitely be, like, dying, because they're, dying as a country, because, I mean, there's not a lot you can do with this frozen land. So it kind of has to be part of another country. However, there is some coast over here in the more dark blue area, which does even include some major city. And this area is a little bit more populated, and could definitely do a little bit better if it was independent. And so we see an independence referendum be held, and surprisingly, well, first of all, these guys overwhelmingly vote yes for independence. Surprisingly, the Scandinavians over here are just going to actually let them be free. So we're just going to use the dark blue religion for them because I don't think there's any country with that yet. And, it's fitting because, they're only a country because of that religion. And I don't like that. I'm trying to make more unique borders because, in real life, countries have very recognizable shapes. They aren't just, blobs. Like Angola, what is that? Like the DRC, what is going on there? That's not what it looks like, but you get the point. So, just trying to make it a little bit more realistic, weirder, crazier borders. And make these guys shaped like a C. India, so that is this new Scandinavian country. So we lost one and we gained one. Well, we lost one, quote unquote, but it was just because of a union. And yeah, these guys also do not, these guys are just chillaxing. Over here, these guys, the weird radical group, they are pretty, expansionist. And if we look at the religion, or the alliance layer, we can see that, well, obviously there's no military alliances in Europe anymore. There is economic alliance, though, and they are not part of this one. They are actually going to join it because they want, not that, but yeah, they're going to actually join it because even though they're expansionist, they do need money to, do their expanding. So, they definitely have their eyes set on this country. These guys have, abstained from joining the Square Economic Alliance because they want to be neutral, but they probably should because these guys are going to, their plan is to leave the alliance and then invade them. So, yeah. Save it just in case. The country's really weird looking, but that's good, like I just explained. Poor guys just have absolutely no coast. If only they could, take over that one. But then they look weird, so they have to take over, all these ones. And now there's a big triangle in Europe. Over here, whoa, that's not what I meant to do. Over here in Asia, we see that there's Golden Horde and there's Baikal. These two are kind of like these two giant squarish, sort of ish countries in northern Asia, obviously. School wasn't me, and I guess these guys are a little bit European too. I think Europe ends here, maybe. So they're a little bit ethnically and culturally. Well, not even ethnically, but culturally and politically, they're definitely closer to Europe. They're actual Russia, but a little bit more Asian in terms of ethnicity and culture. But yeah. So these two countries, they fought together alongside one another in World War I, so that's pretty good for them. And you'd think they'd be, pretty great allies, but that's not really the case. Baikal has been doing a lot of trading with Asia. These guys have been doing a lot of trading with, well, okay, let me phrase this better. Baikal has been doing a lot of trading with their half of Asia. Golden Horde's been doing a lot of trading with their half of Asia. So we have these kind of spheres of influence. Say the dividing line's probably well, obviously it's for them. And then these guys probably get that, and then Baikal gets this. All of that. So that's the dividing line. And of course, whenever two groups of people in history are classified into two groups, of course, hatred's gonna rise up. So there's some, competition between these two halves, kind of see which nation is best, because each one wants to expand their sphere of influence, but obviously that is made harder by the other one existing. So they're both trying to outcompete the other. They kind of get into this economic Cold War. Obviously it's not as serious as the actual Cold War, but they still definitely are starting to dislike each other. They don't really trade with each other, and they start to mostly just stick to trading with only their sphere of influence. So before they would still trade with each other's sphere of influences, I guess. But now they're not even doing that. Now they're just sticking to their own halves. So that's not great for peace. This country has still done nothing, and I think I'm going to keep it that way. But one country that's not going to be doing nothing is Myanmar. It's a pretty new country. I think they were created, were they created after World War One? I think they were. Well, obviously they were created after World War One, but I mean, I think they were created from the peace treaty of World War One. But anyway, if you remember, Bangladesh over here used to have their massive empire. That was all of this, well, not all of that, but it was all of that minus this. So they had the entire Bay of Bengal. But now they lost World War One and got reduced to just this. And the thing is, no one likes them. Everybody still hates them. They really have done nothing to repair relations. And maybe that's going to lead to some issues over here, because one person in particular that hates them is Myanmar, because they used to be part of them. And over in this, even though they're the same religion, over here in this, what's it called, eastern part, these people were a lot poorer, and this half did not do a lot to support them. So there's some tensions still brewing there. We see that the two countries just start to invade each other. It's not like one invaded the other, it's literally they both have a meeting and they agree to declare war. So there's not really an aggressor. But yeah, the two of them start going in. And unfortunately for Bangladesh, their capital is right on Myanmar's doorstep. They start mostly going through the north, but that's not really that efficient, because even it's out here, it's probably mountains. And if it's not, it's probably rainforest or something like that. But yeah, Bangladesh's capital is taken. From there, the whole military is going to start to crumble, and eventually they're forced to surrender. With Myanmar's border finally getting made less weird looking. And they can take as much land as they want, because remember, they're the same religion. So yeah, Myanmar is this nice country now. And these guys are the weaker, sad little chunk of what they formerly were. And yeah, things are not going well for them. And it gets to the point where they kind of have a little revolution, because people just hate this government now. They've been losing so many wars, they've been terrible at diplomacy, and now after this war, they've had a complete economic crash. And so, yeah, people are not happy, and pretty soon enough, civil war takes over the entire country, with the rebels winning, and them instating a new government, which is a lot more focused on diplomacy. So that's good. These guys are good now. In fact, they're so good that they're even going to join the... Oh, there we go. They're even going to join the Diamond Economic, or Military Alliance even. Baikal considers it, but they do not join it, because even though they're their allies, they still are they kind of want to be neutral in terms of military involvement. Economic is another story, but military, they try to be neutral. That does not go for the southern Japanese country, who's going to go and join it, mostly because they're scared of Korea. Now, Korea's kind of, the weird old man that, they used to be literally, I think they were the most powerful country at one point, but they, lost World War One. Well, first of all, they lost bunch of their colonies, then they lost World War One, then they had another war, which they also lost, so there's really nothing to be scared about here. Honestly, if they tried to invade Japan, they'd probably just get invaded by Baikal. So, but South Japan doesn't really care, and they joined the Diamond Alliance anyway. Over here in Australia, look at the religion map. Right now, this is all Korean, but pretty slowly, well, not pretty slowly, pretty quickly, actually. Start to see that might not be the case so much. And I've forgotten that Gibraltar and Tuscany are two different ethnicities, so we have to do two different things. But actually, no, we're going to stick with doing them as one. Actually, I guess we can just do this, because we don't have to do the entire map. But basically, over here in these Tuscan and Gibraltarian colonies over in Alaska, we have this weird hybrid mix of culture from the Chinese ethnicity, because this used to be owned by Korea, the new light blue and beige ethnicities, as well as even the, indigenous ethnicities. All three of these cultures kind of mix in pretty and form a new, completely distinct one. So we have a brand new ethnicity kind of getting started, which is just Pacifican. And yeah. So that's interesting. It's a very weird blend. Imagine in our world, Aboriginals, Koreans, French people, and Moroccans. It's an odd mix, but it is a very unique one. But anyway, I believe that is going to be all for this episode. So, goodbye.